The quiet suburban streets seemed like the perfect place to raise a family. Kids rode their bikes, neighbors waved politely, and the cul-de-sac echoed with laughter. At least, until the HOA noticed something they didn't like. A brand new basketball hoop stood proudly at the edge of the driveway, a simple symbol of family fun. But to the HOA it was more than that, it was a violation. Their letter arrived in a stiff white envelope, calling the hoop a safety hazard. The homeowner stared at the words in disbelief, wondering how something so harmless could trigger such outrage. The warning letter escalated quickly into a demand. The HOA gave a deadline: remove the hoop or face fines. They claimed it blocked the sidewalk, endangered children, and made the neighborhood look less uniform. Parents who once enjoyed watching kids play suddenly grew nervous, whispering about potential penalties. The family knew they had paid their dues faithfully and followed every rule until now. But this accusation felt absurd. Instead of giving in, they began researching. The HOA cited vague bylaws, but nothing specifically prohibited basketball hoops. Frustration mounted, and the thought of fighting back became more tempting. Days later, a second notice arrived, this time harsher. The HOA threatened legal action if the hoop wasn't removed immediately. Their tone grew smug, as though daring the family to challenge them. The homeowner weighed the options: surrender or stand firm. Removing the hoop would crush the kids' spirits, but fighting the HOA seemed daunting. Still, something about the injustice burned deeply. They kept the hoop standing tall, ignoring the threats. But in the back of their mind, they knew they couldn't battle bureaucracy alone. That's when the idea of calling in professional help took root. The homeowner reached out to an attorney, a sharp, no-nonsense lawyer with years of HOA experience. After reviewing the documents, the lawyer smirked. The HOA's argument was flimsy at best. There was no rule banning hoops, no legitimate safety hazard documented, only vague claims. The lawyer explained that HOAs often relied on intimidation, hoping residents would fold rather than fight. This case, however, had legal holes large enough to drive a moving truck through. With renewed confidence, the homeowner handed over the case. For the first time, the HOA would face someone who knew the law better than they did. The lawyer drafted a formal response, citing state statutes that limited HOA authority. He demanded proof of their claims, pointing out the absence of any bylaw explicitly banning basketball hoops. He reminded them that safety concerns required documented evidence, not just opinion. The letter was calm, but devastatingly precise. The HOA board, so used to issuing threats unchallenged, suddenly found themselves cornered. Their authority, once unquestioned, began to crumble. The homeowner watched as the HOA scrambled, meeting in hushed groups and sending flustered emails. The balance of power was shifting, and the cracks in their case widened. When the HOA finally responded, their tone had changed. Gone was the arrogance, replaced with cautious legal language. They insisted the hoop violated aesthetic standards instead of safety, shifting their argument midstream. But the lawyer was ready. He pointed out that such changes proved their case was inconsistent, and therefore invalid. By law, manipulation wouldn't hold in court. The HOA realized too late that their bluff had been called. Neighbors, once silent, began whispering in support. Emboldened by the sight of someone standing up to the board, the so-called safety hazard was now a symbol of resistance. The lawyer prepared for the worst, even drafting arguments for a courtroom showdown. But deep down, he knew the HOA wouldn't risk it. Their position was too weak, and exposure could set a precedent for others to fight back. After weeks of posturing, the HOA quietly withdrew its threats. No fines, no removal, no lawsuit, just silence. The basketball hoop still stood in the driveway, unbothered. What began as a simple family purchase had sparked a small neighborhood revolution, proving the HOA wasn't untouchable. The homeowner had won, but not just for themselves. They had set an example. In the weeks that followed, the cul-de-sac felt different. Children played freely, laughter echoing louder than before. Neighbors stopped by to congratulate the family, relieved to know the HOA could be challenged. The hoop had become more than a game, it was proof that fairness could prevail over intimidation. The homeowner reflected on how close they had come to surrendering and how crucial the lawyer's knowledge had been. The HOA learned that power had limits, and residents discovered their own strength. What started as a battle over a basketball hoop ended with the ultimate slam dunk. Justice served.